The GTA Definitive Trilogy is garbage. I have been saying this for 4 years and people still don't believe me. Yes, the games have gotten better after each release, some bugs got patched, however from the 606 problems I listed in these 6 videos, 413 are still in the game. In this video I'll showcase all problems still remaining in the game, found by me personally and my viewers. If this doesn't convince you not to play this garbage, nothing will. The Definitive still uses the OG intro video file, however it's even worse now since it has scan lines across the footage. This pool's water disappears when looked from below. Objects like lampposts, hay bales and buildings have very weird and dumb physics. This fence looks like it's here, but it's actually not. This road is not displayed on the map. This tree should not exist. Garages now have lots of unnecessary garbage in them. While it looks cool, it actually limits the number of vehicles you can place in each garage. This entire patch of grass is cut in half, it goes on for miles. While in a vehicle, the camera will always fight with you. Looking back in a hydro will make you fire rockets constantly. There's a hole next to this bush and everybody can get stuck into it. Certain cars in San Andreas will take no visual damage no matter how many times you hit them. There's a floating circle next to the parking lot. This hot dog stand is sometimes invisible. Traffic density in GTA 3 and Vice City was increased, making the small streets annoying to traverse since they'll always be blocked by cars. This fence turns into a funky fence from certain angles. These leaves in front of the tunnel entrance point upwards. After some mission cutscenes finish, there will be a black screen where Tommy says some things. He still tries to say some things, but he gets cut off, making you miss some dialogue. This tree should not be here. Blue canisters don't exist anymore and nothing replaces them. If your frame rate is too high and the car explodes, it could float in mid-air. CJ doesn't properly grab onto this trailer. There used to be a mechanic where if you get into a bike, the enemy accuracy is reduced, allowing you to survive better. This mechanic was removed in the Definitive and enemy accuracy is at 100% at all times. This mountain is very sad being in the Definitive Edition. This building will turn its lights off when seen from afar. San Andreas has smaller map boundaries. CJ can walk through the airport fence. You can no longer control a car up and down on PC when using the flying cars cheat. From this angle you can see through the sidewalk. Most of the grass next to the train tracks is now floating. Tommy can no longer hold an attack and release it whenever he wants to hit somebody. The Las Venturas arena is cut in half and you can see through it. Ryder's car is no longer unique because all picadors now have the Sherm license plate. There are many floating leaves surrounding this house. There should be a tree here, but you cannot see it. On the back of the army base you'll find lots of floaty stuff. Oysters are now huge! This billboard is half broken. Both handbrake and the skip cutscene buttons are the same, meaning that when you park your car in this test, you also skip the cutscene and you won't see your score. Car alarms will have a constant honk. CJ's head can be hidden in this bridge. There's a small chunk of leaves incorrectly placed here. Small parts of this fence are missing. You cannot fire the flamethrower in small bursts anymore. These cracks seem to be floating when looked from above. From below they don't exist. This mountaintop is completely borked. All you do in the gym now is to press a single button, no effort required. Next to this hospital you see lots of floating pebbles. These wires don't connect to the pillar. This tree does not actually exist. At the desert body bag location you'll see lots of floating bushes and pebbles. There used to be a fun glitch where you can duplicate hobos if you have a bobcat. You can no longer do it. Mission related phone calls can no longer be skipped. There's a workaround which is not reliable. There's a stretched out texture in the junkyard. This rock goes through the building. You could change your weapon skin easily on PC from the main menu, you cannot do that anymore. Motion blur when going at full speed is now removed. We can find weird patches of grass at Mountain Chiliad. These pointy bits don't actually exist. This lamppost used to face away from the train tracks, now it's on top of them. The fire nozzles on the jetpack will only point downwards even when you change direction. The minimap shows an inaccurate player position in aircrafts. This dock is floating and you can see through it. CJ can fully hide inside this allegedly solid rock. At the spawn location of the skimmer there will be a hole in the sand. It now rains inside of pay and spray garages. All these garbage bins don't exist. The strip club rock is very messed up. There are many texture malfunctions and floaty pebbles at the quarry. In the bank heist mission, Tommy should be pointing a gun in some of the cutscenes. He does not anymore. The hovercraft now sinks into the sand because the texture of it is lifted up. This mountain has PS1 level graphics and a brown slit. Lots of censorship happened to this game. Animation of Haitians was removed, so now you have no idea who Umberto is angry at. Thunder sounds closer to grenade explosions now than it does to actual thunder from the OG. These antenna cables are way too fat and they don't actually exist. The Mega Bunny hop is now impossible. The game does not wipe its memory when loading a new save game, so you see blood and explosions from your previous save game. These power lines are pointing upwards. The new buildings you see from a distance have smudgy textures from afar, and when you get close to them, you'll see how some of the houses are sunken into the mountain and others will be half missing. Lots of floaty crap at this mountain. The whole world is visible from below this bridge. The side of this container is now transparent, but it's still here. CJ cannot go through. Car bumpers retain their color when you try to change the base color of the vehicle. This should change all colors, but it doesn't. The fences are completely busted now. Sometimes they break and sink into the ground, sometimes they disappear and they even double fence it up, where an invisible fence shows up. On this mountain you'll see more than 100 floating pebbles. Performance of the game is pretty bad. You get random hitching for no reason even on decent hardware. You can no longer adjust the forklift blades. It's either all the way up or all the way down, no in between. There's a trapped cactus inside a rock. You sink into the metal of this submarine. The Banshee no longer has a 100% spawn chance at the auto showroom. Some boxes and garbage bags in Vice City float. There are at least 10 sets of floating leaves at the Energy Challenge. You always had a crosshair so you can be precise while being in third person. Now you gotta start shooting to make your crosshair appear. After you break a lamp it will disappear, but the texture will remain. This mountain has a very weird texture on it. There's no replay system anymore, you cannot watch past events. Important mission icons may sometimes hide behind less important ones. You sink into this ramp. This broken house is floating. About 70% of the original music from the 3 games was removed. This mountain rock is very messed up. You can get engulfed by this tree. Your placed marker now disappears when you reach your destination, making it work like the HD GTA games. There are floating leaves at this police station. The custom music tracks are now gone, you can no longer include music you want in your game. When entering a vehicle, the camera will try to position itself to the front. This trailer is floating. In the OG, typing guns 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 gives you all the weapons. Typing a single guns after that gives you more ammo. In the definitive, if you want more ammo you gotta type the entire cheat each time. You'll find floating grass next to this tunnel. You cannot place a marker directly on a save icon. Close to the Sea Sparrow location we have lots of floating rocks. When counting down during a race, there's a weird pause right before go, completely throwing you off. The hospital blip during paramedic will only appear when you are carrying 3 patients after level 3. Over 10 pieces of grass are floating in the canals. Trees and bushes used to react to your helicopter blades, now they are static. We can find a PlayStation 1 level texture at the construction site. Some of these pillars are floating. You cannot detach your parachute in mid-air. The side of this mountain is split in half. Helicopters on PC are now a pain to fly. The Hydra is needlessly complicated and cumbersome. The top box should not exist since you can walk through it. The game no longer stores photos you take with your camera onto your PC. The LV Stadium has random holes in it. Character models look fake and weird. This dock is see-through. There's a weird triangle here on this mountain, and the fuzzy grass here is weirdly separated from the normal grass. Every time you exit a vehicle, CJ will have to close his door. This tree became fat so it pokes through. You can sink into these air conditioners. In the OG, when you waste an NPC, after a while the body cools off in a realistic way. In the definitive it never does and it just respawns after a while. This pile of pebbles is floating. In a strip club there's a girl holding a smartphone on a poster, which is not accurate to the time period of San Andreas. This light was placed way too high. Along the edge of this entire portion of the map you'll see at least 100 chunks of floating leaves. Hydraulics are busted. First you activate them and then you use your mouse to lift each side of the car. You can no longer use hydraulics while also looking around. This tree can consume CJ. This lamp does not obey gravity. If you honk while the police is chasing you, the sirens speed up or change tune. This fence does not connect to the mountain properly. These hall indicators don't actually exist. The shopping carts no longer have physics. After bumping into one, they'll become ghost entities. The races in LS and LV are half as long as they used to be. Lots of floaty rocks right next to the satellite dish. The texture of this tree was moved by a few centimeters. The GTA 3 M16 HUD model was replaced with the San Andreas M4 model. The black score in the minigame Duality is barely visible now. This tree does not actually exist even though it's massive. Lots of floating grass here at the race start location. The activate bomb and start mission buttons are the same, meaning that you activate both every time. The iconic character Candy Sucks was renamed to Cindy Sucks. This tree is fake. There's a crack on this chimney which is floating. You can no longer shoot individual parts of the bodies of NPCs. Behind the pay and spray garages there are floating leaves. When this mission clock displays the number 4 at the end, the whole clock moves right by 1 pixel. You can only assign one button for most actions now, while previously you could use 3. Power lines here are way too fat. Almost every bush and pebble next to the road is floating. This tree merged with some fences. CJ can no longer spin the basketball on his finger. He tries, but it's stationary. Your character can get set on fire from a burning vehicle. Some cracks go through the garage and you also slightly sink into the ground. These bushes are not solid anymore. The sliding glitch speedrunners use is now more complicated to pull off. Some of these wires connect to nothing. There's an invisible bump at the San Fierro arena. The cock rocks have weird proportions. These barriers are now functional, but they used to not work by design. No train ever comes through here. Lots of floaty bushes and pebbles on this mountain. The higher you go, the more floatiness you encounter. You can no longer super sprint by tapping the button, you get tired faster and run slower. During stowaway the background looks weird. A bit after jumping out, you get a black screen and then the game puts you way too close to the ground. After entering a cheat, this text will appear every single time you load your game. These wires are solid and they should not be. This power tower has one leg in the air. Buying a tattoo, removing it and buying it again increases your sex appeal with each purchase. It should decrease each time you remove a tattoo. There's a lengthy and weird line on this mountain. Next to the bribe star we can find floating pebbles. There's now a fake black border around the names of vehicles, like somebody placed a poster on a chalkboard. Colombians cannot hold weapons properly. When falling down you can only adjust your car left and right and not up and down. Sometimes when typing the repair vehicle cheat your car will not visually fix itself. To swim faster now you gotta press 2 buttons instead of 1. Your health is hidden in this menu and you have no idea how much you gotta eat to fully heal yourself. There's a hole next to this fence. Entering a hovercraft hides the player position from the minimap. These two trees merged together. In this little cutaway all the grass is floating. You can no longer see the outside from inside the Malibu Club. If you enter a bike in the parking lot, your camera may clip through the floor and you can see nothing. You can walk into this hill. Removing your minimap and HUD from the screen is now impossible. This parallax interior makes no sense at all. Helicopters take off much quicker now, making the game much easier since anybody chasing you won't have time to catch you. This word should be seguros instead of securos. It's not clear anymore how damaged the plane actually is. This billboard ladder has some of its texture removed. You can sink into these tiny bridges. You used to be able to see how much health an NPC has, you can no longer do that. Flipping over a garbage can and looking underneath it, you'll see how everything is floating. There's a weird chunk border north of Tierra Robada. The camera inside the lighthouse is locked on PC. The freeway exploit is now patched and you can no longer enter the military base outside of a mission. Both this bin and the dumpster don't actually exist. At this tunnel you often see cars driving up the mountain. These container models are moved and CJ will float or walk into them. These fences were placed incorrectly. The beige pants look beige normally until you put cowboy boots on. Vehicle torching is inconsistent. If there's a person inside, it takes 6 seconds for it to explode. If there's nobody inside, it takes 20 seconds. This tree is floating. NPCs may switch clothes when jumping into a cutscene. The abandoned city is not properly modeled and CJ will now grab onto nothing. CJ can blend in with this fence. This bin is floating. Since the map is slightly tilted now, dark blue markers are sometimes invisible on it. This fence is not properly placed and blocks half the road. If you're looking back while shooting with a tank and you drive underneath a ledge, your camera will be in first person and you cannot shoot back anymore. You could lock your turret in the OG and this was not a problem. CJ's head has 2 different color textures. He is 2 races at once. CJ can fully hide into this solid rock. You can get lost in the grass. There should be a slope here, but it was replaced by this, making you sink into it. Some safe houses have weird shadows on couches and the player. While a sandstorm is happening, the ocean becomes radioactive. There's a very lengthy hole in this sidewalk. All the trees at this parking lot are now broken. These docks now have a proper model, so NPCs will often get stuck. Loading screens no longer have music or a progress bar. Reverse lights on vehicles should be white, while now when reversing you'll see red instead. This wrecked car is floating. You can drive through this road separator. These trash bins don't actually exist. CJ uses a fire extinguisher in a very unnatural way. When aiming with a weapon like an RPG, you cannot walk forward. Vehicles will float in front of Jeezy's club. This rock in El Quebrados is messed up. Vehicles explode too quickly now, giving you less chance to save yourself from death. There's a fake fire hose box in the disco. Weapons now fire quicker, which means that bullets run out much quicker too. At the entrance of the cave you'll see lots of floating pebbles. All the hanging flowers you see here are removed. This bridge is not properly connected to the mountain. Vehicles will sink into the street of the Ghent bridge. There's an invisible bump next to the race starting line. Trash used to be everywhere on the ground and even had physics. Now the game looks too clean and fake since it's gone. Statistics are no longer separated into different menus. Next to this gas station you'll see many floating pebbles and bushes. The entire face on both sides in this tunnel is not actually here. These 3 trees are now too fat and they float. These pointy bushes are fake. A big portion of the missions are now nerfed. There are less enemies, more time is given to complete the mission, certain enemy vehicles are slower, there are extra weapon pickup locations and more. Lowrider bouncing is ridiculously easy now, a lot less prompts you gotta press, and the music does not match your presses. You can walk into this dumpster and see what's inside. You can sink into the concrete in front of these safe houses. Random bushes were placed on the road itself. Half of this tree is now missing. This fence does not exist. Enemies holding the M16s are nerfed and their guns are treated as AK-47s. There's a hole in this building. The mission name text you see when starting a mission was moved. Now it covers up important moments in the cutscene. The clock inside a police station does not display the time. This fence was incorrectly placed. This maze is now useless since you can just look at the minimap for an answer on how to solve it. Barbara has shorter hands and cannot reach CJ. This railing is floating and should be facing sideways. Stamina now runs out much quicker. You can no longer jump across the bridge to the second island early. Your targets don't combust into a million tiny pieces anymore, they just disappear. The waterfall transparency is broken. The leaves next to the fire station are floating. The cracks on this circle are floating. These floaty cracks also go through a fence. This road is not properly stitched together. You could fly to the ghost town before, a hidden city in the water, but now the whole city is gone. The altitude bar should fill up twice, signifying the 2 altitude levels. It only fills up once now before you reach max health. Next to the pen spray you sink into the grass. Some rocks will go through quarry fences. The dodo in Vice City used to have a banner advertising something, now it's just a flying dodo with no purpose. There's no consistency between the flight controls of Vice City and San Andreas. Each type of aircraft is controlled in a unique way. To fight normally you gotta lock onto a person by aiming. If you don't aim, you always use gym moves. There used to be different levels of smoke the more damage a car gets. Now the smoke is only one color. You can walk onto the air next to this fence. When falling down with a parachute you'll no longer be able to see your surroundings, your camera resets looking down all the time. You can no longer spray tags through walls. You, along with NPCs, can get stuck in the ground. This person's face is morphed. Clothes you already bought should be highlighted green, this is no longer the case. Bumping into these trees will turn them into ghost trees. This cactus goes through a pipe. Leaves pop through the hospital fence. All these pillars don't actually exist. The shoot forward from your vehicle cheat is no longer available. Here's the proper chainsaw sound. And here is the defective sound. Yep, it's broken. On the back of this building you'll see lots of gaping holes into the void. There's a weird rectangle close to the army base. The white effect from Boomshine's Saigon is now gone. This crack is floating and it's not visible from below. If you enter a cheat, you sometimes get 2 pop-ups instead of 1, telling you the same exact thing. This mountain texture has PS1 level graphics. Lots of floaty cracks here on the beach. Doing 100 taxi fares in a row is close to impossible now since NPCs may stop spawning. Lots of floating crab close to the geyser. This parallax interior is way too morphed. This test is much easier now since the cars are way too far apart. One of the metal sheets here is only visible from the backside. Emmett's garbage does not actually exist. This mountain is split open in half. Speeders are now flooded. This mountain has PS1 level graphics and floating grass. This container does not actually exist. The advertised product box on billboards has no model anymore. The dozer blade needs to be locked all the way up or all the way down, no in between. This part of the quarry face does not actually exist. This terrain is broken and improperly stitched together. Some missions occasionally have desynced audio. There's a weird chunk border here on the beach. Lots of floaty grass next to the bridge. This cabinet in the bank does not actually exist. Very often this geyser will not work for hours on end. Fire hydrants are broken, they don't fall over and you can go through them. This AC motor extends too high up. The minigun sound is now muffled. The Hydra keeps its hover mode or jet setting after death. When doing wheelies on Sanchez, the camera will lock behind you and you won't see what's going on in front. This rock is very awkwardly placed. This bush should be a bit higher, but it isn't. This should be a ramp, but is replaced with a different object. At the end of the sewage pipe you'll see many floating cracks and leaves. This AC appears floating from certain angles. This fence is Z fighting. There are 2 fences in the quarry which float. At the Desert Eagle spawn location, this fence does not exist. On this spot on the road, there will be a random damaged Sanchez spawn. This mountain is broken in several places. There's a floating lamppost and a tree at the park. Fire from Molotovs appears underwater. These ramps are no longer transparent. You can sink into this dirt hill. The Sphinx head is detached. This windmill is not animated anymore. Explosion marks appear on sand, but they should only do it on asphalt. This gap between the rocks should not exist. This tree is too fat and it's poking through the fence. During paramedic your patients may spawn on the street, meaning that a single angry driver can fail your mission easier. There's a brown slit on this mountain. Behind the army base this dock is transparent. These pipes in the whole tunnel don't actually exist. Sometimes the animation CJ uses to put his goggles does not play and the effect activates immediately. You can see through this wall if you hug it. The yellow airport indicator will fly across your entire map and won't be confined to the actual airport. The police dispatcher will sometimes not shut up for several minutes if your frame rate is too high. Around the floaty mountain we also have floaty bushes. You can no longer lock your tank cannon in place. Close to the water we can see some floaty grass. The Washington cannot handle stairs very well. Here you can sink into the concrete. These tree branches get absorbed by some terrain. Taxi boost is now gone and is replaced by hydraulics. You lose life points randomly by simply bumping into something with your bike. This fat tree can swallow CJ. CJ's placement is incorrect during the St. Mark's Bistro mission. You can find a hole next to this road with a palm tree poking through the concrete. This power line is floating. A huge chunk of this fence is missing from the power plant. These 3 rocks here are incorrectly modeled. These stairs are not visible from below. The top-down vehicle camera is now gone. There's a weird brown texture at the quarry. You can walk through this container. Occasionally NPCs will be completely solid, stopping and braking your car in a second. You cannot fall into the hole of this chimney. These power lines are too fat and go through trees. You can lose your jetpack now since you can leave it in mid-air. The Definitive Edition did not upgrade its graphics in the police station, so these pieces of paper look very out of place. This wall was placed incorrectly. You can sink into the ground next to this fence. The interior seen through all these windows is flipped upside down. These wires connect to nothing. After entering a cheat and there's a box there already, your cheat activated box may not appear. When entering the strip club from a certain angle, you can fall and die. These cranes teleport when you get close. There's an invisible bump on this grass. This massive tree is incorrectly placed. There's a disconnect between the texture and the model. You can stand on top of these lines and you shouldn't be able to. You gotta guess how long you have until you pass the gym moves mission since the enemy health is no longer displayed. This mountain has a very messed up texture. This ramp is transparent when you see it from below. At the entrance of this tunnel you see a massive hole. This house is floating. Punching doors on some cars will make them teleport to the opposite side of the vehicle and not in front of Tommy. This guardrail is placed sideways and it's floating. The cancel mission button is next to the pick up items button on your keyboard, making it very easy to accidentally cancel a very lengthy mission like this one. Around the police station you'll see many floating leaves and even garbage. Tommy can put his face into a gate. The energy bike in San Fierro no longer has a 100% spawn chance. There are floating leaves and also a floating smudgy mess at Portland Harbor. This pole next to the hospital does not exist. Dancing has now less prompts, making it super easy and your presses don't match the music. This whole concrete part is floating. This container does not actually exist. This pool has invisible water from below. We used to have an idle camera which looked around when you don't interact with the game after a while. It doesn't exist anymore. These 2 beams don't have a collision. This chimney has a texture you can go through. A big portion of this fence does not exist and you can enter the airport early. These 2 trees don't actually exist. Lots of floaty stuff goes through this fence. This rock should be extended a bit higher. After breaking one of these barriers, their texture will remain in place. The weapon order is now changed and it doesn't go from the weakest to the strongest weapon. The Washington car has very weird physics when you drive on water using a cheat. It used to drive normally. In the Archangel's mod garage some cars float. This fence is broken and it should be replaced. Underneath this wall you'll see void. This parking lot is replaced by grass, but cars still spawn here. And those were 413 reasons not to buy the Definitive Trilogy. Do yourself a favor, find the originals and play them, you get a much better experience. I can do more research if you guys want and up the number to 1000 problems even, just let me know if you want me to in the comment section below. If you wanna support the channel you can become a member or a patron like these wonderful people: Sean Pasca, Olavi Liikanen, Neo GMD, Dan J, Kazenights, Monish Pradeep, Ahesh, Galaxy Star, Presdo, Bad Boy Hero, Jebediver, City Gwen, Hats, Marius and everybody else.